Hi everyone, welcome. I am Terra Newell and I am hosting Ethical Graphics Panel. I am so excited to have both of my panelists today, and I'll have each of you guys introduce yourself, starting with Chey and then going to Kelly.
Okay, hello, I'm Chey. I'm the host of True Compass podcast, and I do video editing or audio editing and graphics.
Nice. And I am Kelly. I'm the host of the Mama Mystery podcast. We've been in business for about 5 years now, so time is flying. And yeah, I write everything. I do all of the writing, researching, editing, talking. I do it all.
I love it. I love it so much. Now, I have Chey here because you are my graphic person usually, unless I'm doing the stuff on Canva
Yeah.
myself, like I have been for most of this panels. All the like the panel graphics, I've done all of those. But when Chey does them, they're just better. And I also have Kelly because I love that you've had a podcast out for 5 years. And from what I've noticed, you put out, from what I've seen, from what I've heard and listened, everything you do is with empathy and engaging with empathy. And then you also have really great graphics. And I love the pop of pink and everything, basically. And it just really makes
Yeah.
everything look great. So I'm really excited to have you both. And so, what makes graphics ethical to you guys? We'll just start out with that question.
Kelly, you want
Shay,
to
do
go
you want to go
first?
first? No. Okay, well, I don't mind going first. So ethical graphics for me, I was thinking about this before we joined the panel, and I think it's important because it's important to understand what an ethical graphic is. You have to know what an unethical graphic is. And so that is something that I didn't really know until I heard survivors talking about things that upset them when they see graphics. So, for example, seeing a graphic of a perpetrator and a victim side by side, even if it's like a cutout of two pictures, like a mugshot and the victim. I've heard from survivors that that can be really upsetting and triggering to like see two faces together even in an image like that. So that's just one example of something that I wouldn't have thought twice about unless somebody told me. And even the same that you mentioned, Tara, about the bloody knife graphic. Like, yeah, there is so much just graphics and gifs and like cartoony type things when it comes to the true crime genre. And like, I wouldn't have even thought about how that might be upsetting to someone else to see like an actual bloody knife, even if it is just a cartoon graphic. So, yeah, I think when it comes to ethical graphics, it just is a matter of being open to learning and always open to other people's perspectives.
Love it. And Shay, I would love to hear your opinion.
Yeah, so I agree. Like, I try to keep everything positive. So if you're doing ethical storytelling correctly, you're painting your victim in a positive light. So I feel the same way about graphics. Whatever I feel like the family puts out and what they want their loved one looking like, those will be like the photos that I choose. And I won't put anything of the perpetrator or stuff like that.
Love that. Love that. Thank you guys so much. I also think that it's interesting that you said, Kelly, the side by side, because I wouldn't think about that, but I wouldn't do that. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Because I just wouldn't think about putting the perpetrator next to a survivor or a victim because I would just be like, why does this guy need to be in here?
Hmm.
So I think that that is interesting. But what are some other examples that you have seen of unethical graphics, in your opinion?
So in my opinion, I feel like unethical graphics gets really exploitative. So when you see people doing certain thumbnails or with like grabby headlines or like big bold fonts just to make it like clickbait, it's easy to let the realness of the story get lost when you make it into something that's clickbaity. And so that's another thing. Like when you see a thumbnail for a video and the person's like, and then there's like all this other drama in the picture, it's kind of like, okay, that's getting a little over dramatic. And I just think it kind of minimizes the reality of the story.
Yes, there definitely has been a podcast I was on lately where they were taking photos of me and they were telling me to get every response, but I honestly was having fun with it. And I said, "Oh, you got," and they let me know, "Oh, we're going to use this for the thumbnail if you're okay with this." And I said, "Yeah, let's get into this." And I just started just doing all these funny faces, but if you're not in the industry, you may not want to do that and you may not want to have fun with it. And so I think it should be up to everyone what they want to do, especially with that. And if they want to exploit their trauma, they can. If they don't, or they feel some sort of way, then, I think that's important because there definitely has been other news outlets where they've had a really like exploitive title, like, oh, girl stabs stepdad in the eye or something like that. And I told them, hey, I'm not okay with that. You need to change that. Or it was even more just salacious than that in a sense. But like, I think that there needs to be that communication of what is okay and what's not okay. And, the exploitiveness is definitely something to think about. Now, Chey, what unethical graphics have you seen out there as well?
I see a lot of creators that do like a bunch of serial killers and like a collage of their faces or merch with that. I feel like that can be very triggering to some people, and I don't think we should be profiting off of serial killers, which we do in a way, but like there's an ethical way to do it and another unethical way to do it. Um, but things like that, using mugshots of just anybody, like even if the victim has a mugshot, using that, I don't like that. And then, as you said, like the clickbaity headlines or episode titles that make it look just kind of gross.
Yeah. Also, a while back, there was a couple of YouTube creators that released autopsy photos of Gannon Staunch. Do you guys remember that at all?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
Yeah, that was disgusting. And that's one of the things that I think it gets exploitative whenever you start sharing videos or pictures to be like, I've got the inside scoop. I found the autopsy pictures and putting them out without any kind of family consent, like without any regard to how it would affect the family and the parents of a victim or the siblings or loved ones of a victim. Yeah, that is so disgusting. It's one thing to, I know there's a lot of pictures that are out there already that everyone's probably seen, like the Menendez case, for example, has been on documentaries and the pictures are all out there. And like, it seems like the family kind of is aware that this comes with the territory. But if for whatever reason the family said that, it upset them that these pictures ever got out, then that would be a creator's responsibility to not exploit those further.
Yes, agreed. And also, not to mention, he was a minor, you know?
Yeah, yeah, he's a child.
Yeah.
Oh, that was so sad.
Like, I just got the chills just thinking about it. I think the creators were Letitia. Well, they don't even matter, but it matters that his memory was, I don't have the words for it, but it was really gross.
Yeah, yeah. It's definitely not how anyone deserves to be remembered. And yeah, it's very upsetting. I'm sure his parents were sickened by that. Yeah, which is sad.
Yes, Shay, do you have any opinions about that as well?
Um, I I vaguely remember it, but I remember just like thinking about what the family must be thinking. It was really sad. So, yeah.
Yes. So also, I feel like there are other creators out there that use a lot of autopsy photos and use a lot of crime scene photos. What are your guys' thoughts on even that now that it just popped into my head?
I personally do not like using them at all. I don't think they're necessary to tell the story. and I would just rather not, and it's really easy to avoid it altogether.
Yeah, I think same here. I don't really make video content. I do a little bit, but not a whole lot. So audio content is really what I focus on. And with that, I don't really have any need for like crime scene photos or autopsy photos or anything like that. It's one thing to like kind of detail what the injuries of someone might be or what the situation looked like as far as like the layout of a house or something, but yeah, I don't really use those kind of graphics.
That's good. Well, I know some podcasts too that are just audio based and they just upload all the graphics onto their Instagram.
Yeah, yeah, I guess I don't think I've done that in the past. I can't imagine I would unless it was like really relevant to the story. But just adding it for shock value is like where it gets to be abusive.
Yeah, I believe that's cringe.
Yeah.
Now, going into creating graphics, what are some of the tools that you both use to create your graphics?
So I use a lot of Canva myself, but I don't really do a whole lot. All I do is like I have my graphic of my logo with maybe a cutout of who we're talking about just for a reference, and that's kind of what I've been doing lately. But that one's pretty easy to do, so I can just do that myself. So if I do need to use a graphic design platform, my go-to is Canva.
Okay, sweet. And then also a follow-up question from that. Since you have your original graphic of your podcast, did you create that yourself or did you have outsource for that?
I created that myself as well. I like doing that kind of stuff. So yeah, I feel like it comes naturally to me. So I'm grateful that I have that talent, but or that skill.
I love that. I think it looks great.
Thank you.
Yes, and Shay, I know that you create such cute graphics because you create like cartoon versions of my dog, cartoon versions of me. What do you use for all of that? And then I know that you also use Canva as well, right?
Yes, I use Canva all the time. It's perfect for anything from editing whatever I want to post on my regular Insta to the podcast, and then also just designing logos for other people. It's amazing. But to draw everything, I'll use Procreate, which is like a tablet app. I think it's $10, but it's just like a one-time purchase. You don't have to pay a subscription. But as long as you have an iPad and like I don't have an Apple Pencil, but I have a cheap Amazon pencil, works just fine. Um, and yeah,
So when you're using Canva, do you save any tools, anything on there? Do you save anything? Like, how do you work Canva? Say I'm a Martian.
So I So I guess I use a lot of the tools that are already on Canva, but there are the options of apps within Canva. So I've kind of dabbled in that. And you can actually find a lot of tutorials on how to use those on YouTube. So there were certain like tricks that I wanted to do with fonts in the past. And so there's apps that you can download within Canva. And YouTube has always been a great resource, whether it's learning how to use like audio recording platforms or video recording or editing platforms, and of course Canva. I use YouTube for a lot.
I love that. I love YouTube and I feel that it's a great learning tool. I've learned to bake. I've learned to find
Mhm.
boxes for the Labubus. I've learned how to do a lot of stuff on YouTube.
Face face. That was funny.
Okay, Shay, going back to you. Now, is it, I want to say Elementor, but it's not Elementor. It's
Procreate.
Procreate. Okay, yes, going back to that, like when you get it, do you just use it on a tablet and you just like literally draw?
Yeah, so I can draw and then I can import fonts. Like if I have a specific font I really want to use for a graphic, I can import that through just like downloading it to my files and it'll go straight to my Procreate. And then it also has brushes. You can find free brushes almost on any website or app. that you can also download into it.
Sweet. And do you have to be good at drawing?
No, you can actually add layers and just trace it pretty much, and then color it in just however you see fit. And it's pretty fun just to figure out and get some stress out. It's a good mental stimulation too.
Beautiful. Thank you. And then, okay, so when you hire a designer, what are some values that align with trauma-informed storytelling, or how to hire a designer? That question wasn't really great on there. Sorry, guys. Okay, so how would you guys, if you guys were hiring a designer, how would you pick one out that is more so trauma-informed and someone that is going to get your vision? Where would you even start?
Well, if I was using, if I was outsourcing for graphic design, I would certainly use their portfolio and look at what they've done in the past to see if it kind of aligns with my style and my like the way I try to present content. So I think it really kind of depends on just what they've already done.
That's so true. And Shay, what about you?
I agree with that. Just look at what they've done in the past. And then you can also just ask them questions like, hey, would you be okay with avoiding this, this, and this? If they say no, don't use them. Um, and just see what they're like as a person.
Yeah, and also, so you say like see what they're like or check out their portfolio, but what would be some red flags to look out for with outsourcing?
I would say like just use of any kind of blood. Personally, I think that's triggering for a lot of my friends, so I know not to use it. But a lot of people don't know that. So just like that's one big red flag for me to look out for.
I think so as well.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting too to hear from you guys as like I think that you guys have a better understanding and better experience with being a survivor and like being a victim of crime or working closely with victims of crime. And so I think it's important for you guys to express those things that can be triggering for people who haven't been through it. Because like I've even learned so much just in this panel, but in panels before too. So yeah, I appreciate your guys' perspective. So if there's anything else too to look out for or that I could even avoid since I do most of my own graphics, I think that would be helpful.
Well, thank you. It's funny because we've talked about knives and like blood on the knives, where I wanted Halloween nails and I wanted them to put knives on them with blood. But for me, it was more so empowering to my trauma. And I was telling her, oh no, it's okay. Like I have a story. And the nail lady would not do that.
Oh, wow.
So it was even like triggering for her to put nail on or blood on the nails on the knife on the nails, you know? And then I have a picture of it somewhere, but then later I did a panel with Kara Robinson Chamberlain, and also Collier, my ex Collier Landry, and then there was I think one other person on that panel, and Kara was talking about how, you know, if she sees that, that really makes her upset. So I was like, you know what? I don't need these nails, you know. I don't need to trigger another survivor because even though it would be empowering for me, does it really need to affect someone else in a negative way, you know?
Yeah, that's helpful.
Yes. And then this question isn't on there. But I know when we go to CrimeCon, to different festivals, they also have a list of rules now for graphics. Have you like seen that in like the little like thing for CrimeCon or
I
when
haven't.
okay. I know one year, the year of Orlando we went, I literally looked it up and then there was like a little thing that said like, oh, if you're triggered by any graphics, please let us know. Also, we're trying to be like more ethical with the graphics, and that really made me happy because there has been, so many people that come in with like t-shirts and with like Ted Bundy's face on it or different serial unalivers, and that, Kathy Kleiner was there. So
Yeah.
it
I
really,
met her and I can't imagine what that is like for her to see her attacker just kind of like monetized like that.
yeah. Yeah. How was it meeting her? I haven't met her, but I really wanted to. I was just so
Oh
busy.
my gosh, she is so sweet. I mean, she's like the lady next door. She truly, truly is like salt of the earth human. And she's been through so much. I mean, talk about an unfair plight. She's dealt with that, and then I think she had a battle with cancer as well that she overcame. But I don't know if she's planning on coming to this year's Crime Con. But I feel like she's usually pretty involved in these types of events. So I don't know. We'll see.
Okay. I hope to meet her one day. It would be great.
Yeah, she's really sweet. So nice.
Yes, yes. And Shay, going back to the graphics, I know we went to True Crime and Paranormal Festival together, and they're very strict on graphics there. Did you
Hmm.
hear Lainey mention anything about graphics there?
I'm pretty sure it's like whenever you buy a podcasting ticket and she sends you the email, it's all outlined in the email. So there it's pretty easy to get in trouble because Lainey will yell at you. Um, and she will scold you and she will tell you, do not put that out. I will not allow it. So I won't even try to mess with her. She scares me.
Oh my gosh. Well, I love it. She's very vocal about ethics, and that's one of the things that I love about her.
Hmm.
Yes. So going and I feel like we covered pretty much everything I had in the panel outline, but is there anything I haven't mentioned that you guys want me to mention or ask you guys about ethics and graphics?
Color palettes.
Okay, let's talk about color palettes.
So typically for me, if I'm like my color scheme for my podcast is purple and pink. Um, and I'll try to coordinate like which one of my colors like of my logo brand um fit to the person that I'm posting about. And that kind of helps me guide a little bit and and you can still stay within your brand and that's very helpful.
Okay, is there a way to like pull the colors? I know sometimes Canva you can like pull a
You
color.
can you can pin it like I think what I have is like you can go I have Canva Plus though. You can go in and like put your logo in with the graphic, all the colors that you want, and then it pins it for you. You can just click on it and pull up that color scheme.
Okay, I love that. I actually do that myself.
I
And
have found it very useful that on YouTube and on Facebook, there's like Canva tutorials, and there's a group actually on Facebook that's like Canva's tips and tricks. And I've gotten a lot of resources and links through that.
okay,
Yeah.
sweet. Perfect. Now, is there anything else I haven't asked that you guys want me to ask?
I don't think so. I think this was really good.
Okay, sweet. Well, today might be a short panel. Amy, do you have any questions for anyone?
No, not really. And it's funny because I don't think a lot of people probably think about the graphics. Um, but like I have a friend whose daughter was like brutally, like 6-year-old was brutally murdered by her boyfriend. And we're both nurses and she like had to stop. Just like being in the OR, like things you don't really think about. I mean that's in person, not a graphic, but just like things that you don't really think about can seriously affect someone. And so
Absolutely.
I'm glad that it's being noticed. You know what I mean? That makes any sense.
Yeah. Yeah, being acknowledged that like
Yeah,
people are
yeah,
actually putting care and effort into this.
exactly.
Yeah, I think it gets easily lost on a lot of people, especially just like true crime creators who don't have a background in any kind of like crime themselves. It's easy to get lost that like these are real people that you're talking about with real families and real lives and real stories. I mean, it sounds like so cliche and obvious to say, but it can just get lost when you're doing content creation to think of what's going to grab attention without realizing that it can become insensitive.
Right. And like you were saying at CrimeCon, you can, I mean, the people walking around with just things they shouldn't be wearing. Like, come on. It is cringy. Like you said, Tara, it was just cringy. And one of my friends who works with a podcast was it both the last crime cons, she won't even go back because she's like, I can't, I just can't. It's like, it's just sensationalizing it. And so I get that.
I'm curious to know who that podcast is when I stop recording.
Okay. I'll let you know.
Yes. But also just also other things to think about as well if you're working with family members or you're working with the actual survivor, asking them what photos they prefer to use if you're working with them, because you may choose their worst photo and think that that is a great photo. And they're like, oh no, you used that one from like when I was 14 or something. I've had some interesting photos thrown out there, and I'm like, why that one? But okay. I have professional photos for you guys. Well, that's something to think
Here
about.
are some headshots.
Yes, here's some headshots that some professionals did, and they're airbrushed nicely. Please use these. Yes, but thank you guys so much for joining me. Kelly, where can I find you on social media? Where can I find your podcast?
Yeah, so on any podcast platforms, it's Mama Mystery. And then on Instagram and TikTok, it's mama.mystery podcast.
Beautiful. And then Shay, where can I find you as well?
My podcast is also on any podcasting platform at True Compass. And then my Instagram is at True Compass Pod, I believe. And my personal Instagram is at the Shay Vishna, Vyshnya.
Beautiful. Well, thank you guys for joining me today. I hope you guys appreciated watching this panel.
That's something I would do.
I hope you guys enjoyed watching this panel about ethical graphics, and please check out the other videos on YouTube as well as hitting the like button and subscribing and checking out their content as well. And I'm Terra Newell. Thank you so much for listening.